So let's go straight into our day 6 of Java Basics. It will be the last day. So I hope you have understood all the topics that we have discussed in the past 5 days. So today maybe we'll try to wind up the session a little earlier, and if you have any more doubts in the prior session as well, you can ask. Okay, so we'll go straight into the session today. So yesterday we have done until the inheritance, right? So today we'll start with the topic of Java polymorphism. So polymorphism is also a topic that comes under OOPS. Okay, so object oriented programming. So this is also a concept that comes under the topic. Okay, so what is polymorphism? So polymorphism is simply means it has a different form. Okay, so how we are achieving polymorphism, we have seen this earlier itself. Okay, we have seen method overriding overloading, right? So what it is, the same method but it behaves in the different form. So that is nothing but the way that behaves that way, right? I mean, like same method behaving different way. So they have a terminology in Java that is called as polymorphism. Okay, so what we have here, okay, we have operator polymorphism also. So what they have given example here is the plus operator. So what it does is, if you give the plus operator between two integers, it is going to add the integers, as you can see in my snippet here. So if you are going to give the plus operator in between of two strings, like I have given two string, right? First name, last name, and in between plus, it is going to concatenate that string. Okay, if that is the term used here. Okay, concatenation. Okay, so these things we can maybe, like, the next step of Java while you are coding, while we are learning the basics of coding or intermediate step, we can you will learn it more better. Okay, so it is nothing but, if you add two numbers, it is called as addition. If you are just combining to string, it is called as concatenation. Okay, if maybe everyone should be familiar with Excel. So in that, when you add two cells, you call it as an concatenation, right? So the same word is used here as well. So same plus operator behaves different way with different input. Okay, understood. So for viewer perspective, it is the same operator. It is a plus operator, but it does two different jobs. Okay, so we have two types of polymorphism. So one is the runtime polymorphism, other one is a compile time polymorphism. Do you remember so okay, um yes, do you remember we discussing about runtime and compile time? Right? So compile time is when your compiler compiles your Java and turns it into a bytecode, and runtime is while you actually run the bytecode using your Java virtual machine. Okay, so I hope you remember, but I just want to brush it up again. Okay, so we have polymorphism that is happening in both runtime and compile time. So as we have discussed, I have told you earlier, so runtime polymorphism can be achieved by method overriding, and compile time polymorphism is achieved by method overloading. So do you remember the difference between uh, method overriding and overloading? Anyone? I think, hope you have remembered it. So okay, so even let us see the first example. We have the main class. So in this here we have two subclasses. Okay, we imagine you have some other we usually have an animal-less parent class, the super class. Okay, so we did the same example yesterday. Okay, so we had one make sound method, abstract method in the class, and in the subclass we are again overriding that method, sorry, make sound method. And what we do is we will give one more output, like just for like bark or something. Do you remember? So what it does is, so when in main class, when I call d1 dot make sound, in from main class, it will go take the make sound from the dog class, and it will perform all the function that I have written inside the dog. So when it will occur, this the function that is uh, how to tell you that, the printing, when it will occur, it will be happening on the runtime, right? The main class, we know that main class will be called only during the execution of the program. So this whatever the function or output statement that I written inside the make sound of dog will get printed during the runtime. So this is an example for method overriding. So next one is the example for method overloading. Here, do you remember the same method? We will be having an one with no arguments and the other with some arguments passed. So what will happen here? So in your subclass, you will be having two method. One, sorry, not two method, same method with one as no arguments and the other with some arguments and the same name. So you'll be calling both the both the methods inside the main class. So it will check, right? So which method to call, it will be decided during your compile time itself, right? If in case you are in d1 display pattern, if you don't give this hash symbol, what it will take, it will two times it will execute this same display pattern, the method without argument. If in case you are trying to add one more parameter, comma, and one more parameter inside it, what it will say, it will check here there is no method with two which allows two arguments to pass. So so our Eclipse, what it will say, it will give you an error while even while you are typing the code, right? Do you understand? So this type of this type of polymorphism will occur during the compile time itself. And basically we have learned this overriding and overloading already, and I'm just introducing the topic to you, polymorphism, to you now, and I'm trying to fit the content that we learned earlier. Okay. So next is nothing but the difference between the method overloading and overriding. So as I have given here, for overriding, method should be inside the different classes. As we know, like we will be giving the abstract method in the parent class, and the overriding class in, like we did one in a dog class and other one inside the class cat, right? So it should be present in different classes for overriding. For whereas in case of overloading, the method should be present inside the same class. Yes, right. For the method with without argument and with two arguments, right? So we have tried it already. Hope you all remember it. So as we have seen in the last slide, method overriding is performed at the runtime and the overloading will be done at the compile time. Okay, so just the gist. Okay, you can see if you are going to get any interview questions or whatever, when they ask for in the name of polymorphism also, you are going to give the same answer. If they give you specifically give overriding or overloading also, you are going to give the same thing. Just know how it relates. Okay, which runtime polymorphism goes with method overriding, and compile time it goes with the overloading. Do you get it? So since we have seen example for these already, I have not given any new example today for these. So we will go into the next topic of OOPS concept, that is encapsulation. Okay. So encapsulation is nothing but bundling. So when you go, where your professors talk, or when you go inside your corporate, you will say, you will hear this word often. Okay, it is not inside this bundle. Okay, this EAR is not, this function is not in this bundle. Bundling is gets failed. What it means is, when you want to deliver a project, when you want to deploy it in your server, they do a bundling. That is also called as encapsulation. In that thing, you will have your entire project as a single bundle. Okay, so for example, like if you have a folder in your computer, and you store similar type of things in the folder, and that folder is a bundle, right? The same concept. You are writing a class. You can see in the left side, right, in the code. You're writing a class, and you add whatever the variables you need, and whatever the method you need, and you enclose it within these parentheses, and this is encapsulation. Okay, whatever the code inside this, if you open this class, it can be seen. But if this class needs to be used somewhere, we are not going to see this entire code. We are just going to create an object and going to use. Okay, so this whole bundle, I can access it with the object that I create wherever. Okay, do you understand? So the other thing is, this bundling, this encapsulation also helps you in data hiding. So data hiding is different, data abstraction is different. Okay, data abstraction is, we don't, we are showing the, how to tell you, we are showing only the important data. Okay, we will show them that this is available, but what we do is, we will not tell you what is happening inside. But data hiding is, it is totally hiding. Okay, so next is, okay, encapsulation and Java data hiding. Okay, so data hiding is a way of restricting access. Yes, we have seen, right, some access modifiers. Do you remember? Public, private, protected, default. Do you remember it? So what we are doing with the help of those access modifiers, we are hiding data from other classes. If we want to expose it, we are mentioning it as public, and we are exposing it. If not, I have to restrict the access. Then what we do? We will change the access modifier appropriately, and we will be changing the access of the data. Okay, so encapsulation also provides a way for data hiding. So next is the oh, yes, we have seen this. Okay, what is data hiding versus encapsulation? So people tend to confuse between both encapsulation and data hiding, as they consider both are same. But no, with help of encapsulation, you can achieve data hiding, but it is not same. Okay, data hiding and encapsulation is not same. If you do this, you can get that. Okay, so encapsulation is the process, and data hiding will be the end result. Okay, do you understand? So please don't confuse both. So anyway, data hiding is, it is just like the use of access modifiers, or whatever you can consider. The main thing that you have to keep in your mind is the usage of uh, access modifiers, because we tend to do, as a beginners, what everyone will do is, we will literally make all the methods and variables public, because it's going to work everywhere, right? So in that case, what we have to do is just ask a question ourselves, that whether it is needed to be declared public or not. Okay, even if you are going to declare it as private, then also you should question yourself once, that whether I'm going to be using this variable only here, or will it affect somewhere else. right? If it's going to be used in some other class, please don't go directly to public. Remember, we have one more access modifier, protected, right? Which you can access in the child class subclasses, right? So may try to experiment with all these things. Since you have IDE, take one small example of any program, just a simple calculator program, or whatever, anything simple you take, and make use of this. I will not recommend you to do a factorial or Fibonacci series. No, this is not, we are not going to do any mathematical or something. You don't stress over any mathematical functions or anything, just calling a method. So calculator will be more than enough. Okay, simple calculator, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So you can create, okay, maybe I'll tell you at the end. You people, maybe after you have time, after the course, you can try implementing each and every variable that we learned in this 1 week course, and try doing an application yourself, a small application yourself. Okay, so with this encapsulation, we have done with the basics of OOPS concept. So OOPS concept, Java itself is a wide ocean, and OOPS concept, I will not say the entire A to Z of OOPS is completed. No, I will never say that. Okay, so whatever you need to know as a basic, yes, it is done. Okay, so here even in OOPS, you have the everywhere, it will go, improvisation will be there. All right. So the usage of collections, usage of that, there is a lot more in Java. So whatever you will use inside, inside every topic, the inheritance or within the class, it changes. So for now, yes, we have learned as much as what the relation happening between the class, the object. So what it means to have inheritance, and how it plays with the the objects inside the class, sorry, the members inside the class, or whatever. So we have learned about object, yes. We learned about class, and also we did learn about inheritance. So polymorphism, yes. Remember what is polymorphism? We just seen, right? Not just seen. We have learned the method overriding and overloading already, but now we have understood how it relates to polymorphism. Okay, and abstraction, yes, we learned yesterday, right? The abstract class, abstract method. Do you remember? So next is the encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but bundling up. Okay, so when you bundle up a code, you will know, right? You'll be obviously giving the class or giving the method proper naming. So only that class is going to contain the method and variables which is related to um, the function, the operation that you are going to perform. Okay. So next comes Java exceptions. So from the day one, no, from day two, we learned about coding, right? So we learned variables, methods, then we came across oops concept, and next we are coming to exceptions. So Java exceptions or errors, however you call it. So obviously, if there is a program, it is not going to give you positive results every time. So there is certain times that it will go wrong, right? The errors may occur, it may be due to bad programming, or wrong programming, or it may also due to some unavailability of the resources, right? So in Java, the unexpected events, when the program is execution, that is the runtime. The exceptions or the errors that you get at the runtime, we call it as exceptions. Okay, so of course, whether it is an error or exception, it is going to block the flow of a program. If either error or exception, whatever you get, your output, you are not going to get your output. Okay, it is going to block the running of your program. Okay, wherever, whichever a line that is going to occur, it is going to stop abruptly at that line. It will not execute further. Okay, so at the end of the day, your program will not get executed. Okay, so I have given you some reasons for the exceptions. So invalid user input, device failure, loss of network connection, physical limitations, code errors, opening and unfixable unavailable file. Yes, it is all self-explanatory. So what it means to be invalid user input, you'll be giving an form. So instead, when the user want to enter their phone number, if they enter some characters, and if you want to process it inside, obviously it is going to give an error, right? So the same way, device failure. So if you have any, connectivity, you have a database behind, and if you want to go hit it and you want to bring the data, consider your data is in cloud. If you have a connectivity failure in between, obviously you'll be getting some exceptions. Okay, so memory error, code errors is what we should, we should stop it, the runtime errors. Okay, and opening an unavailable file. Yes, so whenever, it happens even in our Windows system, right? When we try to open an unavailable file, we'll get this file is not available. So the same kind, when you try to, input, we have a library for input output, IO library, input output library. So when you try to read a file, or when you try to write a file which is not existing, obviously Java will also throw an error. Okay, so yes, this is the hierarchy of the exceptions. So the exceptions will be highly categorized into throwable. So in throwable, it becomes two: the error and the exceptions. And in exception, we have runtime exception and IOException. IO is nothing but input output. Okay, so we'll see everything in not in detail. I'll give you a brief note. So what is errors and what is exception? As I have given you, error represent an irrecoverable condition. Okay, so even like if you have some JVM out of memory, as I have told you earlier, right? When you write a code, you have to kill the object. You should not leave any connection active, even if you are done with your work. So all these things will give you this out of memory leaks. Okay, memory leaks will lead to out of memory. Okay, so next is the stack overflow errors. So stack overflow error will happen in arrays. Okay, so next will be library incompatibility. So library incompatibility is nothing but we have JDK and many libraries inside, right? So we also, that is not enough. When for example, if you are going to convert any file into PDF, for example, you have a separate library for it. It is also free. You will be downloading it and you will be adding it inside your along with your JRE, you will be adding it. So when you have the next version, okay, when you have a new version, and if this library becomes incompatible, so obviously your code will not run. Okay, or in case you are writing your code with now today, I don't know, uh, many projects have actually migrated to Java 8 and above. For example, if you have a very old project with you and the code has been written 1 minute, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So Yeah. So you have written a code with Java, 5 or 6, whatever, and you're now you have migrated to Java 8. Okay. There will be some methods, use sorry, predefined method that is deprecated. Okay. What do you mean by deprecated? It is no longer available. Okay. So those kind of method, when you update your library, so obviously it is incompatible. Okay, in your new library, you will not have all those, old functions. So that at that time you will have some errors. So you cannot fix it with your code. It is irrecoverable, right? So in that case, what you have to do is like either if it is out of memory, you have to check what happens, whether it is from code side or it is somewhere else. So if it is library incompatibility, what you have to do, you have to update your library or either update your code, right? Either you have to downgrade to the the library for which your code is compatible, or you have to write the updated way of coding. So, and then next will be the infinite recursion. Do you remember while learning for loop, I have told you so the if you have given the decrement operator minus minus, and you have checked your condition with some I less than or equal to 10, so it will go keep on decreasing the value, and the condition is going to be true always, and it creates an error. Okay, it goes infinite loop will be running. Okay, this if that happens, it will go beyond. Okay, either if it happens in your system, you have to restart your Eclipse, or sometimes you have to deliberately open it in your taskbar and you have to kill the Java JVM running. Okay, so these things will come under error. So we'll see what exception is. So exception is you can catch it and you can handle it by the program. Sounds interesting, right? So what do you mean by catch it and handle it? So as we have already seen, user may tend to give different input. So we know it, right? So we are writing the program and giving it to a customer. So we have to expect the bad side also. So nowadays we have these, validation check in the front end, like in the form, the HTML developers. So they themselves will be, validating it. Only then they will be sending to you. But assume an, worst case, you don't have any front end validation and you are getting it. So obviously you cannot blame the front end developers, right? As we are writing a program, you should ensure that even only the right input gets processed. So if we ensure that only the right gets processed, then we should give a way like how the bad data should be processed as well, right? So at that time you have to catch those exceptions. Okay, if error comes, obviously Java will tell you this is the error, so you'll be catching it and you'll be handling it. Okay, so if what happens if you don't handle, your entire execution of the program will stop. Okay, understood? So if you catch and handle it, your what happens is the next line. Okay, this any exception that is occurring inside the current method will be caught and it will be handled, and the next line will process. Okay, so that is how it goes. So how you will be catching it and it will be processing it is, so if you are writing one a method, if there is an exception, Java itself will give you an object. So whenever we saw an example already, I guess, in while we are learning about arrays, when we try to access, we have 5 element in an array. When we try to access the 6th element, we had an exception like array out of bound, right? So that array out of bound is it an object, an exception object is created and it is thrown to us in the uh, a console that we see down. So that object will be always available with Java. So we will be reading it and we'll be handling the exception that is happening. Okay. So we have an okay, just I'll show you. Please see this, only this console. So I have tried one program for you to show. So it has given an Java input output file not found exception. So this is how your exception objects will be. So it will give you an detailed description about what error it is. In some cases, it will tell you in which line of your code it occurs. Okay, it can also sometimes be so detailed in that way as well. Okay. So next will be, so okay, runtime exception. So again, I don't want to go inside what is runtime and compile time. So runtime exception will is usually happen due to programming error. Okay, so that is called as an unchecked exceptions also. Sometimes, as I have told you, without checking the length of an array and we are trying to access some value that is out of bound. Okay, out of bound of an array, then we will be getting array index out of bound. And next, like without using a proper, the arithmetic expression as I have given here, so dividing by 0, right? So when you write an method, for example, you are writing a division method and you are getting an input from user example. So you are writing like public for return type int equal inside the bracket you are getting two numbers. Okay, uh, int a, int b. Okay, and inside you are giving that int c is equal to int a divided by int b. So if you give this way, it will automatically divide and it will give you an answer, provided if both numbers are positive. If not just positive, if it is not 0, it is going to give you any the value. Consider if user has passed 0. Okay, a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 0. So what happens? Obviously we'll be having an error. So that is an arithmetic exception. So in that case, what you have to do, obviously we know we are going to divide the number by b. So you can add an if condition. Okay, if b is not equal to 0. So what happens? So okay, so if b on the division happens only in case if b is not equal to 0. So that code will, if user is going to give 0, it will not execute. Okay, so if we are considering the worst case also, we will be checking the conditions and we will be writing the code. Understood? So input output exception. So input output exception is nothing. It will be like checked by the compiler at the compile time. So we will be prompted to handle these exceptions. Okay, so what do you mean by prompted to handle this exception is nothing but in IDE it will give you a red underline, right? So your IDE itself will not let you run until you clear those errors, right? So for example of it is file not found. So if you are trying to access some file inside your any folder, and if it is not already present, obviously it will show file not found exception. So there are two cases, like how to tell you, if the file is present only inside your project folder, then it will show you file not found exception. If you are going to do some connectivity with the external source somewhere, like you are going to read your D drive or something, okay, with your Java program, and you are going to write a file at that place. In that at that time it will not come under input output exception, that will go at the runtime exception. Okay, so only when you run the program, Java will go and search the directory. Okay, so don't confuse when I say file input output exception and file not found exception. Please don't confuse that. Even if you give the D drive or some driver, the file that presents in your physical memory of your computer, and Java will give you a compile time exception. No, that is not the case. Okay, so mostly input output exception you have to bother about all these things when you are handling the files, when you want to upload a file or you're going to create a file or something. So so just have this in your as an idea. So don't get so much confused, or if you, even if you don't understand it now, don't bother. Okay, this is not a very big deal, but I want you to have a good understanding on this runtime exception. Okay, so when you practice, you'll understand IOException more. Okay, but to even begin your practice, you have to understand this runtime exception. Okay, so if you have any doubt with the runtime exception, please park it, and we'll discuss in the query session. Okay, so next is, okay, we have discussed about all these exceptions and everything. So let us see how to handle it. Okay, I have told you that exceptions can be catched and handled, right? So how it can be catched and handled? So what we do is we have an set of code called try catch finally. Okay, so each this you can see in the snippet. So each try catch and finally is a separate block. Do you remember what we call as block? So anything that starts with open curly braces and the close curly braces, and some code goes inside, and we call that as a block, right? So try we will be naming it sorry, calling it as a try block, catch block, and finally block. Okay, so uh, finally block is always an optional. Okay, so you can use it, or like it is not mandatory. It is good to have a finally. I'll tell you the use, but it is not mandatory. Even if you don't add finally, your editor is not going to throw any error, or it is not going to prompt for any finally block to you. Okay. So yes, so try catch block. So one more thing is I'll tell you what is the use of how to use try and how to use catch. So whatever the code that you think will throw an error, like it may go wrong, you have that feeling, right? So this may go, not just feeling, you have that judgment. So those kind of code should go inside try block. Okay, so it can be a directly this int divide by 0, directly this calculation, or you can write this calculation in a separate method, and you can also call that method inside the try. Okay, it depends on you. So it's going to do the same, right? Same action. So okay, the action that needs to perform will go inside try, and catch is like whatever the exception that will occur, you will be catching it in, you will be expecting it in catch. Okay, so when I'm going to give divide, obviously I know it is going to give only arithmetic exception. So I'll give catch arithmetic exception. This is the type of exception. Okay, understand? Arithmetic exception is the type, or the the class, exception class, and E is the object, exception object. This is the object that will be created whenever this try code throws any exception. Okay, we have learned already, right? So if any exception occurs in Java, it will throw it with an object. So that object is E. Okay, that object will be received in E, and we can print that exception over here. Okay, so whenever an exception, if 5 divided by 0, obviously we'll be getting this arithmetic exception. So when we get it, it will handle inside this, it will be handled by this catch, and whatever the code that is outside of this try. Okay, consider we have only this, consider we have one more line of code over here, it will get executed normally. Okay, the flow of your program will not stop. Okay. So next thing is every try block should be followed by should be immediately followed by catch. Okay, or finally. So finally is not um, finally is not mandatory. Okay, so normally you will see try catch together. Okay, you'll see finally also, but what you see often is you will see try catch together often. Okay, so next is what I have given here. Yeah, sometimes you can give a try separately, without giving any catch or without giving catch, you can give try. Okay, try and finally alone, but you cannot define any catch block without try before it. Okay, catch always comes in pair with try. Understood? So we'll see a small example for it. So yes. So do you see? We have an small program here. So that we have seen already in my snippet. So integer. So 5 divided by 0. Print the rest of code. Okay. So what happens? Whatever we give I have given inside the catch block got printed over here. Okay. So let us try this. What happens? So your the flow is completely stopped here and it is not handled. Okay, your Java has shown you some error and it has completely stopped. Understood the difference? So usually since it is our IDE, we are getting an error like this. If in case your application is deployed, what will happen is your front end page, right? Your page will not get loaded, and all these, these exception and whatever the line it has occurred, all these will be shown in your code. Okay, which means they call it as showstopper, which means your application is not accessible. And in corporate terms, they call it as an K1 bug. K1 means it is highly critical. Okay, because the user cannot access your application from this point, right? So that is how it get dealt. So obviously it is a simple step for us to think and expect what may go wrong and to add these try catch block. So let us say I give one. Okay. So what happens here? I have just given an declared an array with with three elements into it, and I'm trying to print the value in the index of 3. So what is the mistake that I have done here? So I'm trying to access the value inside index 3. So here obviously we don't have index of 3. We have only 0, 1, 2, only second index. Even though I have given this block inside a try, and even I have a catch block following it, the exception is not handled. You understand? The reason is because I have not given the proper uh, you know uh, uh, the type of exception. I have given only arithmetic expression here. Only if arithmetic expression occurs, this catch block will work. Okay. If not, it will not work. It will not catch those exception. So in that case, what I have to do is, it is of type array index out of bound exception. That is, see what happens if I change here. You see the index of index 3 out of bound for length 3. You understand? So if length is 3, the index should be 2, right? Do you see how we how this works? For example, let us see what are the details that we have inside this the error object. So it has the type, it has the message, and if you have dot, see, these are the classes and everything that is available inside the exception object. Okay, so we have one more thing called print stack trace. So okay, since okay, if you give this space, so even if you handle the array out of bound exception, you wanted to know all the detail, the lines and everything. Okay, so the message inside inside your catch, you will get all the detail. Okay, sometimes when you give this kind of you know single liner exception, what happens is, when you are writing a very big program, you have thousands of lines or like hundreds of classes. If you give this single line, you will not know which class or when it happens, or in which line your exception occur or something. So mostly even if you give this one line print statement in corporate code, you will see a lot of this stack trace, print stack trace, so that you will get a detailed exceptions. Okay, so let us go to the next topic. So next will be multiple catch block. So a multiple catch block is nothing but in case if we have you're trying one set of code, and it may have uh, it may cause multiple errors. Okay, it can be of type anything. Okay, maybe user might have not entered any, given any input and type enter. That might can happen. So obviously you are getting no input from user. For that you can give a null pointer exception or something. And then in case if user is in the old example we saw user has given 0, and obviously it is going to create some uh, how to say an arithmetic exception. So in that case you have two exceptions to handle, right? So so that way what you will do is you will give a try code, you will write multiple catch. Okay, there is no restriction that you have to write only one catch for one try. No, you can write more than more than one catch. Sorry, like you can have 0 or more catch blocks. Okay, either if you decide you don't need to give catch at all, or else you can have you if you decide like you need to handle multiple cases, you can give multiple catches as well. Okay, hope I am not confusing you, right? So what we are doing, we are creating an object for this multiple exception class, and we are calling this write list method from this class. Okay, so let us see what this class contains. So it has an array, integer array. So the size is declared as 10, and try array of 10 is equal to 11, and we are we are accessing this method only. What it means to array of 10 is equal to 11, do you remember? This is something opposite to what I have shown you just before. I was trying to access the data from an from an index that does not exist, and what we are doing here is we are trying to add and assign a value to an index that does not exist. So if you have given the size of array as 10, what it means, it can only take indexes from 0 to 9, right? So yeah, so that is the case. You are trying to access the access the 10th index, so you are facing sorry, you are getting this exception. So which block has get executed? So index out of bound, the second block gets executed, the first one is skipped. Okay, so next we have finally block. As I have told you, if it is a the exception handling, we have try block, catch block, and finally block. And I have also told you this finally block is not an mandatory mandatory block. Okay, uh, and we have also learned for one try block we can have multiple catch, and when you come to this finally, you can have only one finally block for one try. You can either have no finally block, or if you want to add a finally block, you can have only one finally for one try. Okay, so if you write this finally in finally block, it will mandatorily it will get executed. Okay, whether if your code is executed successful Even in that case, your finally will get execute. Even if your code inside this try block is getting any error or any exception, so next the if it is getting any exception, your obviously your you know how to tell you, the catch block will get executed, and then after this catch get executed, your finally will be getting executed. Understood? So next will be, okay, as I have told you, it is not mandatory to have to have a finally block in your code, but it is a good practice to have it. Okay, in what way I mean it is good practice is, um, for example, uh, we have not learned that yet. Maybe I'll give you a small example, you can correlate. So whenever you're getting some value from your database. Okay, just for an example I'm telling you, you're imagine you're getting an object from your database. So if you are getting an value from database, then what you will do is you have to create a connection. So we have a separate class for it, to create a connection or whatever. So if you have a class, what you will do, obviously you will be creating an object for it, right? So you will and then we have some result set and so many things when you deal with your connection and database. Okay, so everything is an small object. Okay, so consider you're taking some consider you're working for an Aadhaar, Aadhaar application, or some uh, or how can I tell you, you are migrating your old database into a new database. Okay, and your old database is containing some 15 years of data. Okay, so what you will do, you have to take that 15 years of data. First you have to fetch it, right? So what you will do, you will be writing an code for it. So inside your try block, first you will be creating a connection. So inside your try block, what you will do, you will give that for loop kind of thing. Okay, you'll be writing a for loop, because for 15 years of data you cannot it has to be recursive, right? You will be giving some condition, maybe checking with your date or checking with any number or whatever, depends on your database. And you are continuously processing every single row from your database. So what happens, for your every single row, for every entity, an object will be created. All right, so consider how huge the value will be if it is for 15 years. Okay, so uh, at least let us consider for an year you have 1,000 data, so 15,000 object is created. And this for loop, it is not going to take the entire day for you to create, right? If it is 15,000 data, it is maximum within 30 seconds or 1 minute. You are going to get the data from your database. Okay, so 15,000 data is created within 30 seconds. Okay, so obviously those object, once you get the object, you will be processing it to some other it will go to the next function. Okay, let us talk only this fetching. Okay, you have fetched the data and you have passed into for some other methods to process. Okay, now this 15,000 object that has created, it will be in the memory of Java. Okay, you have took the you have took whatever data you want and you are processing it somewhere else. Then why these 15,000 object has to remain constant? What is the need, right? So it is like adding some junk. You will not keep your waste near you, and you will not be sitting the entire day, right? So your code will smell. you know do you understand? So in that place, this finally comes into play. Okay, so whenever you are writing some some code inside try, okay, consider any number of object it creates inside your try. If you give we have learned about closing an object, right? So the object name dot close. So in the same way, we have some way to close the connection object and some way to close the prepare statement, and we have some to close the result sets. We have some few default classes to work with data. Okay, so these are some objects. So you can add all those closing set of data into your finally, and this finally will do it, make your work simple. And once your object is sent, the 15 years of data we are fetching, it is sent to some other function to perform. And once the try block is done completely, this finally will flush out all those unwanted object. Okay, and your code is clear. So this finally will execute in either of the cases. Even if your try code gets success also, the finally will execute. Even if your try fails and if it goes into the exception, in that case also your finally will execute. Okay, so it is always a good practice to add try catch finally into your code. Okay, even when if you are the beginners of Java, so try practicing writing your code with try catch. Okay, so it is a good practice. So it will not look like a burden for you to add it when you really go into your company, or you're teaching your student, or whatever you're going to do tomorrow. It will not look like a burden for you. Okay, it doesn't have any different syntax, right? Just a try catch and finally, and whatever that variable you are defining, or method you are going to write, you are going to write it inside your try. Okay, so yes, this is the for how to tell you an overall view of try catch finally. So let us consider from main method list dot write list is called. Okay, so this write list, what it will do, uh, while we are calling this, it will check the file writer. So it will see if they have. Okay, I'll show you the example for this. You will get an better understanding if I show you the example actually. Okay, so here we have a class called list of numbers. So what I have here is I have an array, and the size of an array is 10. So here we have the constructor. So inside this, what we are doing, just we are just storing the value. Okay, so we have an empty array. We are just iterating, and for the 10 values, the 0 to 9 is going to be assigned inside this list. So we have one more method inside. We have this write list method. So in this, what we have given, we have created one object. Okay, print writer object. So this this is the class that is available from this Java input output library. Okay, IO library. So inside try block, just I'm having one print statement, and here I'm trying to write a file. which means I'm going to create a file. Okay, understand? So next, in the next step, what I'm doing is value at, I'm just iterating the loop that I already have. Okay, I'm just giving the same less than 10, and I'm trying to print the value, and I'm expecting what are the error could happen. Since I'm iterating an array, I may get array index out of bound exception, and also I'm dealing with some input output sorry, the files, since I'm giving the input output exceptions as well. So I'm expecting these two. So next we have this finally block. In finally block, what I'm doing is, if this out object is not equal to null, okay, I'm just checking if object is created or not. Okay, if it is always null, there is no need to close the object, right? If it is null, obviously what it means is the object is not created. Okay, so if it is not if it is not equal to null, I'm going to close the print writer, and out dot close, which means it is nothing but we are closing or killing the object created. Okay, and if else, print writer not open, we this uh, how to call it, the object itself is not open, it is not even being created. Okay, this is the exception, sorry, this is the you know expressions that we are going to get in the finally. Okay, let me execute this code. So what happens is the code has executed properly, that we did not get any exception here. So we are just trying to write a file. Okay, we are trying to write a file, output dot dot text. So what it does is, the first entering try statement is printed, and then closing the print writer. Why I'm telling it is executed successfully is, if we have got any error, we would have exception, either of these two exception would have occurred. If even if this two kind of exception is not going to happen, we would have got any third, okay, at least the way we usually get, right, in red color fonts. So that kind of exceptions will be shown. Let us see, let us try to fail this case. Okay, what we can do, I will try to give one slash. As we all know, we cannot create a file name with this special characters and all, right? So as you can see, what is the output we are getting? So as usual, trying to enter the statement. This statement is printed, and I have tried to create a file with this name. Okay, so obviously this file is not available. The system cannot find the path. Okay, this cannot be found, and obviously this out object will not be created, right? So we are this else block of the finally is getting executed. Understood? So this is how try, catch, and finally will work. So that is what we have given in this small block diagram. So that's it. So if you want this array index out of bound to execute, we can just change, let us try giving less than or equal to 10. So we have got this array index out of bound. Okay, so what it does is it is trying to get the 10th index also, as our condition is true. So but obviously in array we will have only 0 to 9 index, right, since it is the length is 10. So this index out of bound exception is called here. Understood? So this is how your try catch finally, the exception handling will work. So with this note, we will close this session today and the basis of Java as well. So okay, I'll just kindly recollect you like what are the things that we have saw. We have seen the way to define variables, methods, and what are the type of method, and how to access it, how to pass uh, arguments to methods, and what are class, what are objects, and what is method overriding, what is method overloading, then inheritance. We have seen the keywords, different keywords. Then what are the things that we have seen abstraction, and we have completed the entire oops concept. So with this, I believe if you have understood all the topics, you can create a small application that you can run in your system. Okay, I will not tell that you can go deploy or not, no, not that. But you, with this knowledge, you can create a small application which you can run in the local JVM that is available inside your machine. Okay.